Let's set up here. Okay. So in this one, I'm going to talk about the 26 tactics of emotional warfare and strategic isolation based from my own experiences. So first is making you feel like asking for help is weakness. Even when you're crying out and feeling that grief, and they act like your emotional stance is too much, or they act like it's too much for them to take part in your healing journey, take part in your heart work, take part in your prayer life, take part in your, which we're supposed to be on the same page, mind you, within prayer as Christians. I can only speak for Christians here in that sense. But as far as them wanting to take out this grief over a person's life, it's they're shaming you in that pain so that you'd hold yourself in it. It's basically making a situation to enhance that you're to be your own silencer. They'll say things like, nobody likes a victim. Nobody likes a victim. You got to forget about that mentality, la da 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 da, while they're victimizing you. Second is convincing you that no one would believe you. That was legitimately what was said with Jesse. Good luck getting anyone to believe you. Yeah, well, I'm certainly going to try, G, because what you did to me is fucked up. So even if people don't want to see the truth, doesn't mean that there's not truths that get shoved underneath the carpet, left alone, isolated, betrayed, and even buried with people that they silence, dismiss, and even kill. So there's truths out here, even if they're truths with no witnesses, because people don't want to see it enough to believe it. That's just the psychological imprisonment of itself. To leave that truth barren with no witness. Third is sabotaging your trust and support systems. This is controlling your relationships. They picked off your closest people until you had no safe net to fall into. And you need that safety net, especially when you're dealing with these covert crimes. When they're not there, and they're the ones staging up the crime, literally makes it murder, spiritual murder, if not like when you actually do end up passing, where you pass, like where you just pass, meant to look like it's on your own, is murder. Fourth is creating failure loops when you're looking for answers and you're asking for help. So even starting a campaign like a GoFundMe or a YouTube account or gift, send, go, anything that you're trying to build, to try and build something that for myself isn't just for myself, me and myself alone, me and I. It's geared more that way now, but when I first started it, it was going to be for a very cool charity, like the coolest on earth, if you ask me. But if this falls through the suspicious activity of these people that are getting you into the doubts of your own mind, to pick you off basically for even trying. So next is number 5, they'll mock you for wanting to even speak out. This is why they have accounts created right now, mimicking my character, mimicking my nature, and they're creating this smear campaign specifically to slander me, where they're trying to flip my cry for justice into a flat-out joke, trying to shame my voice, suggesting to people that you don't need to hear him or see him in the tears that we're creating for him. No, they don't want people to see that, so they want to stonewall and gatekeep people from being able to speak the truth up about the very instigations that they're creating to leave people abandoned, which leads to number 6, is using that silence as a weapon. You get ghosted when you first need them the most, and then they vanish at the critical moments just to deepen your sense of abandonment. They already know they already know they're abandoning you with what they're doing to you, but then when they're creating that discard, when they know for a fact that you need that physical help the most, based on the proxy warfare and these proxy artists working together in that fashion, it's to deepen your sense of abandonment that you already are abandoned. And so it's really hard to come to terms with, to realize it, to know what to do with it. But that's why they do it, is to like literally use your silence as their ability to weaponize any kind of which way that they can silence you. Much like I said before, nobody likes a victim. So in other words, you might as well not speak out at all, and try and get out of what we're doing to you. We have an egocentric superiority complex over your availability to grow, your availability to develop, and your availability to find reason for discovering the crime that we're committing against you. You see what I'm saying? And that's why they need you silenced. It's critical moments as well that you're left in, seeking for answers, that you should be able to feel the right for yourself to be able to seek. So next is number 7, is making you afraid to be vulnerable. They used your honesty as ammunition so that you stop sharing, not because you don't want the help, but because you're just afraid it'll be weaponized in the same fashion. So this also bleeds into retaliatory behaviors coming from the people that are targeting you. So the same thing with the system, and the crux of the system is that it's broken. It's not trying to help the target, but trying to silence the dissident, keep oppressing the dissident, so that you can't find a way out of that abuse to reach a turning point. So that brings us to 8, is turning others against you in your story. When you're trying to turn for answers, they'll literally gatekeep and stonewall people from even being there for you under any circumstance that they can create, any circumstance that they can manipulate. So people started pulling away after I spoke up. They sowed the seeds of the doubt that was being placed inside of other minds about my contents of character, when it's literally their own contents of character that's left me in that hard-pressed way to have to speak up in the first place, or to feel the need that I needed to speak up in the first place, leaving you surrounded by these, coldbacks that are just, they've turned completely cold on you. And number 9, it's triggering that despair right before your breakthrough. So much like fighting 20 years of homelessness, fighting all of my life growing up, fighting through, grade school to high school, to work life, to relationship life, my social circle of friends, anybody that they could get to break up my hope so that I would just stop trying, was legitimately to place me inside of the camp of being depressed, or any one of the labels that they want to suggest to others. And it's right before you're about to do something good, right before you're about to be able to actually reach that breakthrough, right before you're about to actually get away from them, in a way to basically stop allowing them to determine your value, stop allowing them to determine your fate. For the example of having this type of ownership over your availability, of controlling your own life, but it's also to break your hope completely, to get you to stop trying, because then again you're silencing yourself in a way that's very manipulative, in a very, very manipulative fashion by these people. So number 10, they'll hijack your platforms, or they'll hijack your social media, hack you, and it's to where you're not allowed to get that message out. You're being gatekept in your availability to hold your own social constructs online. So say I started a new Facebook for the 4th time. Say my first one had 3,800 friends. Second one got up to 1,500. Third one gets up to, say, 484 or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But say they get up to those numbers, well, now you're having to start all over again, and you're literally being blocked now from having your own name, utilizing your own power to suggest to what's been happening to you, because now all of that work, all of that time, all of that energy that you put into that social media site for your petitions, your campaigns, reaching out for help, reaching others to talk to, having a support system of any kind, reaching out to other charities, other churches, other availabilities of actually receiving that blessing and reaching that breakthrough, they hack away that account and they take away all of it altogether. So it's not only stealing away your time and energy and resource of creating those campaigns and petitions and creating all of the words, but it's literally taking the money from your phone bill. It's literally taking away all of the areas that you've already paid for your own use to be completely sabotaged. So not only are they energy harvesting off of where you're at currently, but they're trying to energy harvest off of where you're going, and they're also doing this energy harvesting off of where you've already spent your energy, time, money, and everything like that into, so that you could be reaching out for help. The goal here is to leave you so emotionally exhausted that's to make you give up. If you give up, you give in. And it's to isolate you further in that abandonment. And that's exactly where they want you. Pushed inside of the abandonment, getting others to abandon your story. And it's to discourage you spiritually, ethically, morally. When you want to rise up in your spirit and you want to do better things for yourself with your own spirit, it's to keep you in that exhaustion, to steal away the energy harvest that you normally use for praying, for writing, for fighting through, for grinding. Just simply put, you're grinding to get through this abuse, to get out of this abuse, and they're sticking you right inside of it. Then it leads us to 12, labeling you as unstable for speaking the truth, you see, because they've made my personal clarity seem like madness, calling me crazy, calling me insane, calling me any kind of label that they can in the book, and it's the oldest trick done because it works. It's to gaslight you in your reality, stonewall others with their lie, and as so long as those people believe that lie, then the truth gets silenced. Just like before, the truth, where was it? Number 2, I think it was. Yeah, truth with no witnesses. And especially when we need more witnesses to help us get out from under. So they do this in number 12, labeling you as unstable, to speak up for yourself and speak the truth. And their labels, they work because it is the oldest trick in the book, and it works, which is why they do it. 13 is flooding you with unresolvable chaos. It'll be one storm upon another, or 3 storms upon 5. It doesn't matter how many storms they're creating, because you have to constantly then be putting out the fires while you're sitting there trying to build and plan and strategize. How can I do this and that and the other while being targeted, while they're literally pushing me out of finances, pushing me out of jobs, pushing me out of relationships by proxy, or utilizing relationships in proxy to as well continue creating more fires that they've already been building for you all along. It's all planned. It's all coercion control, or coercive control that's planned to leave you in that coercive violence. So while you're sitting there trying to put out 3 fires, they're creating 5 others. So while you finally get out the 3 fires and maybe 1 other, you got the 4 others to deal with while somebody else is creating another 2. Huge ones. Eventually it burns up the whole forest of who you actually are. And that's exactly their goal. That's what character assassination is. Number 14 is to make your needs feel like burdens. They made me feel like I was asking too much just to ask for, well, will you help me share my petition? Will you create a petition for me? Will you create a campaign for me? Will you do any such thing for me, brother? Because the reason I was doing that and the reason I was asking that is because I had already known that the answer was no, because they couldn't offer me any kind of aid, support, or help, because they've stolen away my free will and my sense of self with the absolute insurance, I guess. They had been insured by these crooks of the system, these crooked fucking people within the system that want to work in this fashion over targeted individuals, over the dissidents, over people and truth tellers. Because if you're trying to grow up in that fashion, to work through that hijacking of your own creativity, which is number 15, they're using your own words to then flip them. And when they're stealing your ideas to twist them, and it really creates that paralysis sort of within yourself, the creativeness that you would otherwise have, the light that you would otherwise have, the joy that you would otherwise have, and bring into your relationships or bring into the world, is all of a sudden left in this paralysis, acting as though you have no voice that's literally your own anymore, or it acts in that kind of manner, literally making it to yourself that you don't have any of your own origination, which I would explain with the Seven Dust song called Not Original. If you look, or Not Original Anymore, or what is that song called? I think it's I'm Not Original, or Not Original Anymore, I think is what it's called, by Seven Dust. The point of that lyric is to literally get at these terminologies in the lyrics of it being like, at least to me, at least how I look at that song and how I hear it for myself and what I've dealt with, is it's a stolen origination of yourself, so that anything that you do live from there moving forward you're not original. So it's like, I'm not original anymore. It's a really good song. I love it. Very hard hitting. Maybe check it out. Seven Dust, Not Original. I love Seven Dust personally, so I'm going to support Seven Dust in this work. But anyway, number 16 is blocking your collaborative support. Even the people meant to help you suddenly get distance or weird, because they're tainting your name and spirit to keep your own allies from reaching you to physically be able to help you, and then when they do, they're targeting them as well. Even if it's in little tiny ways, those little tiny twists of them being able to actually be there for physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental support, it's to literally stop that mental support and to stop that availability of unity and just having family around. For an example, like my sister going in for these procedures, and it's a psychological fuckery, if you ask me, that leaves a person in higher stress when they need their people around them the most. And so I'll say it this way: fuck you people for what you've done to this family. Fuck you for what you've done to your own sister. Fuck you for what you've done to your own mother. All to support the crooked ass motherfucker that is my dad. So the people that might hear this message know exactly who I'm speaking about. Anyone else that needs to know has to deal with my brothers and these fake lovers and fake ties that they created to keep reaching into my life to continue poisoning me up and leading me blindsided by the identity theft that they were creating. Next is number 17. Basically is like, if they get you into silences, they reward that silence. basically making it that you're a Stockholm syndrome treated person. That's punishing your own voice. You bring out your own voice, you're going to be led into a vicious cycle of abuses, which is exactly why I believe that the state itself needed to take anything that they could to make me out to be the criminal for all of these crimes that have been doing this control grid throughout my whole entire time of life. Because, and that's like, it's like the worst coercion ever, because it's very violent and oppressive to the dissident and the truth teller to even be able to come out here trying to speak your truth, so that when you do speak your truth, it's to leave you hard pressed as all get out. But then when you're left in pieces as well, unable to speak your truth, that's the control that they want, because they liked you best when they could play you small, and when you couldn't establish your thoughts to put them into words and actions. So now that I'm establishing my thoughts and memories and putting these things into actions, well, now they want to use that trauma as leverage, because they know what hurts, and they'll keep hitting where it hurts again and again and again. And it's not random. It's to literally track your wounds, to control your emotions and your emotional stability, to make you look like you're just eroding on your own. It's the coup de grace of the spiritual and character assassination of a person. Next is 20. They'll erode your self-worth over time. Years of being played like this, little by little, you stop feeling like you deserve help at all. You stop feeling as if you can get out at all. You stop feeling as if you have anything at all to go on with, which is where it left me as a kid, until a day would pass and I wouldn't even remember having the will or the courage to want to escape what I couldn't see at all. So all of a sudden you're left without reason to not be able to see the crime, but even when you did have reason to see the crime, it's leaving you in that feeling of isolation. I don't know exactly how to put this one, because there's really no words for it. You literally have, you have your mind, and you have a little bit of your mind and mental resources to think through what's happening to you, to want to move away from it, to all of a sudden the very first part of like realizing things goes away. You don't have the reason for the reasoning to be there, that you had something to run away from. So that's the installment of that psychological torture, to make you, as a Stockholm syndrome person, able to then go back to the people that are doing you the dirty and asking the people that are doing you the dirty to help you. Do you think that you're going to get help from somebody that's doing you dirty? They literally have it in their mind. They want to hurt you in the worst ways, covertly get you dead, fuck you up in the worst ways. Do you think you can go back? Do you think you can actually go to that person and rely on them to be a reliable source of help? No, you can't. Which goes into number 21, interrupting your prayer and your spiritual flow in life. Because it's hard to get into that place of having your sanctity and your sanctimonium, or for however you want to say that, but it's your sacred space, it's your sacred place, it's the sacred availability of your home life, your love life, your financial life. And when you try and tap into that higher power, and such doing so, they create all of this extra noise and chaos to disrupt that connection in any which way that they can. The reason that they do that is just like I said with the frequency. It's a frequency. The Tartarians knew the healing frequencies with bells, and these hearts that, we're in frequency of good healing ability in life, and they want to literally take all of those things away. And even inside of like Christian music and stuff like that, run across videos. They literally spin these things backwards on a, whatever they do in the records company, to enhance for the ohms or the hertz that are involved inside of the frequency, to actually hurt your availability to heal, hurt your availability to think. So, in other words, be very careful with music. Music is something that should always have the healing and growing ability. And sometimes I've run across songs that I've used inside of some of my own work that's like, that's triggering. That's really triggering. And, you can understand what's beautiful and what's not. I use a lot of music regardless of what it is and what it has to hold, because I have a huge truth of many years that I need to get out. So that's why I'm working in that fashion. But they're ultimately just trying to create ways to make noise around my creative abilities, to just disrupt my connection to my own self, to channel the gifts and talents that God gave me, to be able to work up in my calling, so that they can try and steal that away from me. It's energy harvesting in its finest. Leading us to 22, hijacking your narrative online. People will copy me, they will twist it, slander me, abuse anyone else's eyes and comments from being able to see my work. It's digital harassment, and they manipulate that digital narrative so that it feels like your truth has already been stolen away. They've even suggested to the fact and saying that I'm dead already. That, oh, he's dead. Not as saying that you're a dead man walking. No, they're literally trying to paint it in the eyes of other people that you're already dead. So it's to say, oh, well, I can't do anything to help this guy. Maybe they were going to pull out their phone and send $200 to this person. Well, it's to say, well, that's not going to do him any good because he's already dead. You see? So they're trying to create deflective circumstances to even not only deflect from your work and deflect from your truth, but they're trying to deflect your availability to even get help, reach breakthrough. And not only that, but hacking your online accounts in the general is really kind of establishing a whole mess that you would otherwise be fine maybe having, all the friends, 5,000 friends, and maybe 25,000 followers of your content that you would have otherwise created in the first place being left alone. And it would have been a lot different of content, because especially if your support system were actually supportive. So you can kind of see it, put it in your mind as far as how that all works and how that all operates. But number 23 is suggesting that you're the problem. It's gaslighting to get you to question yourself and your own narratives of belief, your own discernment. If you begin to believe that this world might be right about you being wronged, it's you literally wronging yourself from being able to, how is that? It's like guilt manipulation or shame manipulation. It's not the word I'm looking for. It's future faking. That's what I'm looking for. It's future faking to the point where they're able to then take away all that's right about you and rip it out of your availability to see that you're actually right. Because if they can flip that in reverse and play up on the good guy side, just to one day flip again and be the malignant, narcissist, covert, sociopathic, dirty, then that's what their plan is. That's exactly what their plan is, and that's exactly how they move. So they weaponize spiritual guilt, basically. You're thinking, am I being punished? How could they do this to me? If they convince you that your pain is that spiritual failure when it's not, that's the determination of what is spiritual warfare. It's to leave you in that state of mind to create the spiritual warfare. Next is 25, where these systematic silences through the tech, through their abusive hacking. And it's just your own emotion, utilizing your emotion. So even when you try, it feels like no one hears you. That's a mix of emotional sabotage along with the tech manipulation to create a false reality of your identity while you're screaming out into the void. You should be able to get that help, not be avoidant or avoided because of what you're actually saying is true. They need it to be flipped in reverse, inside out, and in all ways to leave you fighting for what's seemingly like all determining your life. So when you're in that fight and all of a sudden now they're utilizing a little 8-second clip to say I'm the criminal inside of a court system that's not going to look at all the rest of what I'm saying online and all the rest of what I've been going through since the dawn of time, or since the beginning of the year even, or since the beginning of that month, where they got that reaction of words. And words aren't a crime, by the way, no matter how they want to flip them. What makes a crime is the activity of a crime, which then makes these people in the crux of a very crooked crime. So it's really hard to expose because it has you screaming into the void often, and screaming at the avoidance of others based on their stonewalling, their gatekeeping, or whatever their tactical method is next of poisoning strategically people around them so that they're lost on themselves as well and don't know what to think and how to reason and whatever. Which leads you to the last part of this message, which is targeting your purpose and your mission. They don't want you to rise, because if you did, you would break that cycle and you'd be exposing them and setting not only yourself free, but many others free. God bless, and I hope that you're all taking care of yourselves.